All right. It's not fancy. It's very plain. I was just working on it this morning because I was going to the exam. I wanted to make sure that I was giving you not the exact examples as far as the numbers, but the exact type of math that you're going to see on the final exam. Okay. So for those of you who are here, you'll get an index card when you leave, and you can put whatever math formulas that you need to put on here that you can bring with you to take the exam. Okay. If you can fit it on here front and back, then you can use this on the exam. I just need this back turned into me with your final exam. Okay. Um, Also, we are taking a practice final exam on Wednesday. Okay. So Wednesday morning, we're taking a practice final exam. If you do well on that practice final exam, then you do not have to come back on Monday next week. Okay. But it is a practice. Okay. And I call it a practice because sometimes people have like really bad test anxiety. They get really stressed out about the test, right? So this is practice. If you don't do well, that's okay. You'll know what you need to study over the weekend so that you will do well on Monday for the final. Okay. But you might surprise yourself. And if knowing that it's just the practice, you might surprise yourself and you might actually do pretty well. Okay. You also should have already completed by today. If you haven't completed by today, you should do it by Wednesday. Is the two practice exam reviews quizzes that are online. Okay. Some of those are exact questions from the final exam. So if you have taken those two quizzes, then on Wednesday, when you take the practice exam, you're probably going to see some questions that you have already seen. Okay. So I would recommend, even if you've already taken those practice ones, do them again. Do them again. I think you have 10 attempts. So do them again over and over again to get that stuff in your mind. Okay. Um, the other thing for Wednesday is I need everyone to bring in a green Scantron. Okay. It's the 882-E. Let me write it on the screen. 882-E. It's the long green skinny Scantron. Okay. The bookstore used to sell them individually. I think they only sell them by packages now. But individually? Okay, cool. How much did you pay for it? $1? Okay. I'll sell it to you for 25 cents because I buy them from Amazon in a big old package. So if you don't want to go buy one, you can just bring me a quarter. Okay. And that's all you have to do. So you don't have to worry about bringing one. Also, I prefer that because some of y'all's backpacks are pretty messy if they're like my desk, right? And then these get crumpled and then I can't run them through the machine. So if you want to, just bring me a quarter. So 25 cents on, I think that's exactly what it cost me on Amazon. Okay. So index card, green Scantron. If you've not taken an exam with me before, this is how I do my exams. Okay. Everybody's gonna take the same final exam. For those of you that have the Scantron that came with your textbook, it should say manage first on the bottom. Anybody have an example of that? It would, well, I guess you guys don't do Surf Safe anymore. Um, but it's a small Scantron. Yes, like this one, if you'll hold that up. Yeah. Okay. So if you have that Scantron, you need to bring that with you on Wednesday. Okay. Because what's going to happen is you're going to take the test on the green Scantron. I'm going to run it through the machine. If you have a 75 or higher, then that means you've passed the exam and you can just copy your answers directly from here onto your Scantron. Okay. If you don't have a 75 or higher, well, you're going to come and retake it on Monday. Okay. And then at that point, if you're passing, you can copy your answers over onto your Scantron. Okay. Because they always give you one retake. But students never take the retake because they're already off in the other semester, right? And so this is your one retake. If you don't pass it the first time, you get one more attempt. And then if you do pass it, you copy your answers directly onto the Scantron. If you don't have the Scantron, it's no big deal. Everyone's taking this is everybody's final exam. The only difference is the people who have the Scantron, which everyone should because your book should have had it. Everyone who has the Scantron will get a certificate of completion for controlling food service costs from the National Restaurant Association. So then you can put on your resume, okay, if you have that, if you want to update that, especially if you're going to go into food service, that's something that's good to have. It's not a certification like, say, food handler that has to be renewed all the time. It's just a certificate of completion of the course, okay? So for Wednesday, you need to bring either 25 cents or a green Scantron, or you need, and you need to bring that Scantron, that managed first Scantron from your textbook, okay? If you forget it on Wednesday, don't worry. We'll be here on Monday. You can just come in for the final, copy your answers over, and go for it, okay? Any questions so far about the process? All right. So let's get into some math. Food cost percentage. What tool are we going to use for food cost percentage? The triangle. So I would definitely write your triangle on your index card. So food, sorry, this is labor cost percentage. Let me go back. Food cost percentage is the same thing. I didn't put much on this slide because we've done a lot of food cost percentage throughout the semester, okay? Labor cost is the same thing. We're using the triangle for labor cost. It's just in this case, instead of using food cost, we're using labor, okay? So the same situation as our triangle applies here. So what goes on the top? Cost and percent and sales. Okay. So if our estimated sales is 60,000 and our labor percentage is 40, what is the available amount for labor? Which one is this asking for? It's asking for our cost. So we cover that up. So 60,000 times 40% is 24,000. So that is my available amount for my labor budget. What's that? No. So 60,000 is my total sales. Okay. So 40% of that 60,000 is $24,000. But so 24,000 is my labor. Now, of course, I also have my food cost and all those other things. So that's when you would subtract it to get what your total profit is. Okay. So bottom one, our total estimated sales are 200,000. Percentage is 35%. So again, 200,000 times our percentage of 0.35, and that is $70,000. Okay, so the triangle works the same way, whether we're talking about food cost, labor cost, beverage cost, whatever. You're going to have two of the three pieces of information. okay? And you cover up what you're looking for, and then you do the math for the other two. Yes, you can use your calculator. Yep. No, you can use your phone. All right. Any questions about labor cost percentage? All right. Labor productivity. It's another question that's on our final exam. Labor productivity. Okay. So the scenario they're going to give you in the final is they're going to give you four names. They're going to give you the total number of hours they worked and the total dollar amount that they earned in sales. Okay. And they're going to ask you which one is the most productive, which one has the best sales per hour. What is that word per? What does this word per mean? It means divide. Okay. This word means divide. So sales per hour, we would take our sales, divide by the number of hours they work, and that is their sales per hour. Okay. So I'm just going to do server A, B, C, D right now because I did not get a chance to go back and make this personalized. So let's just say, I'm going to fill this out real quick in the interest of time. Bless you. Okay, so go ahead and calculate the sales per hour for each server. So what we're going to do is sales per hour. So we're just going to divide each one of these. That one's easy. That one's easy. You can use scratch paper. You can write on your final exams. So you can use the margins to do math. Okay, so you will have the ability to do this. Kind of build your own little table off to the side. So in this case, who has the best sales per hour? Server A, because they have $200 per hour. Okay. $200 per hour. Questions about productivity? So if you were a manager, who would you want to schedule on a regular basis? A and D. Why? They're making the most money, right? So what do you think? So even if you look at, let's say, look at A and C, right? A and C work the same number of hours. They both work 10 hours each, but letter A made $750 more in that same 10-hour period. So let's say I'm server C and Sarah is server A. My manager might, be like, hey, Sarah, what are you doing that you're making $700 more than David working the same number of hours? Sarah's like, oh, I sell dessert and I sell appetizers. And David doesn't sell any appetizers because guess what? I can't sell appetizers. I don't have that ability, right? Because I'm really awkward about it. And like sometimes, have you ever been to a server before and they're like really awkward? They're trying to push an appetizer on you. You're like, I don't want that, right? So it sometimes takes a little bit of finesse, like a little training. Hey, Sarah, why don't you train David how you sell appetizers? And then that maybe can help me bring up my sales per hour, right? And so as a manager, you can look at this and be like, okay, who's my rock star? Who needs a little bit of help? What do they need help with? Or maybe Sarah just is really great at suggestively selling steaks, and I'm just suggestively selling all the pastas, right? And so higher ticket items. So as a manager, you can look at this information to help you make define educated scheduling decisions. All right, so edible portion cost is another concept. We want to take our as purchased cost and divide by the edible portion. It's as simple as that. Sometimes they give you extra information in the question, and you don't need that extra information. Okay. So if the 50-pound bag of potatoes costs $20 or 40 cents per pound, if 45 pounds remain after trimming, what is the edible portion cost per pound? Okay. Well, I'm going to right off the bat scratch this out. This is extra. I don't need this, right? I don't need that. And the reason why I don't need that is because it doesn't matter how much product remains. I still paid $20 for that case or that bag of potatoes, didn't I? So my as purchased cost is $20. My edible portion is 45 pounds. So cost per edible portion. What is 20 divided by 45? 45 cents. Okay. I cannot recall if the final exam has you round up like we have been doing. Okay. They may have you round down or keep the same cents, right? But they don't do they wouldn't do 43, 44, 45. They would have like 44 or 45, and they'd have very different answers after that. Okay. So it's not going to be like super close like that. So if you look, I know our class says this is 45 because we round up to the nearest penny. Their answer may be 44. Okay. But questions about this, how we got this. I still pay $20 regardless of how many potatoes are left over. So I got my $20 cost divided by the edible portion, 45 pounds. There's other ways you can do it with multiple steps. This is the easiest way. Questions, comments, concerns, edible portion costs. I will post this video on Canvas. So if you want to go back as you're filling out your index card, if you want to rewatch the video as you go, you can put like the title of whatever the thing you're looking for is. Okay. So our employee turnover, we talked about this, I believe, in chapter 10. Okay. Employee turnover savings. We first want to find the difference of our turnover rates. Okay. So what was our turnover rate last year? What did we reduce it to? That's the difference. Then we want to multiply the number of employees that we need times that percentage difference. And then we're going to multiply by the cost, the amount of each new hire or recruit. Okay. So let's say we reduced from 125% to 100%. What is the difference there? 25%. Okay. That's step one. Step two, we're going to multiply by the number of employees. So the problem will give you 150 employees is what we need to have on hand. Okay. So 150 employees times 0.25. 37.5. Finally, step 3, take this number right here, 37.5, and multiply it by the cost per new hire, which in this case, I'm making it up, is $250. So that's a savings of $9,375. So we first find the difference. What is our old turnover rate compared to our new turnover rate? How many employees? It will tell you how many employees need to be employed to be fully staffed. You multiply by that percentage. And then you finally take that number of people and multiply it by the $250 or whatever the amount is. Let's do one more example. Okay. What's my percentage? What's my old turnover rate? It's over 100. What is it? 100. Say it again. 175. 175%. My new turnover rate, 125%. So that's a difference of 50%. Thank you. So step number 2, 200 employees times 0.50 is 100 employees. Step 3, I take 100 employees and I multiply by $300 per employee. A savings of $30,000. Okay? Step by step by step. You might even, on your index card, normally they're about half this size, but I can't find my index cards. So Charlie in the office, this is what she had. So you guys can thank Charlie for big index cards. You might even write the formula and then write one of these examples right next to it. So that way you can see where the numbers go in the formula, okay? Total labor costs. Total labor cost, this is our formula right here. Wages plus salaries plus benefits. Okay, so you're going to see a question on your exam that's going to ask you how much is available for wages. Okay, how much is available for wages? Well, this is, if we plug all this information in, total labor cost, 15,000 equals, do we know what the wages are? No, because that's what we're looking for. Our salaries are 3,000. Our benefits are 6,000. What are we doing here? We're doing algebra, right? So whenever somebody says you're never going to use algebra in your life, we're doing algebra. We're not solving for X, we're solving for wages. Okay? So what do we do? Just bless you. What we normally would do in algebra, what we do on one side, we have to do on the other, right? So minus 3,000 and minus 6,000. Come over here to this side, minus 3,000, minus 6,000. And that will give you your total wages. So 15 minus 3 is 12. Minus 6 is 6,000. Okay. So we have a total availability of $6,000 for wages. We see how that works? You could also rewrite this formula as total cost minus salaries minus benefits. Okay. So do the last one on your own and then compare your answers with your neighbor and see what you get. All right, Liz, what did you get? 11,800. Is she correct? Yes. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about total labor costs? All right, popularity percentage. We did quite a bit of this with chapter 4, but I also want to kind of just go over this again. So we're going to complete the table below. So our popularity percentage is the number of items served divided by the total items that were served. And then when we forecast, we're going to take the total people that we want to serve, and we're going to multiply by that popularity percentage. Okay. So I'm just going to come up with some numbers: 200, 150, and 75, 25. That's 350 plus 450. So we're going to do 50 hamburgers, 500. Okay. That should equal to 500. So add it all up. 0, carry the 1, 5, 7 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 5, carry the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 400. So my total items served is 400. So I divide each one of these by 400. What's 200 divided by 400? It is 500? Oh, that's right, because that's a 2. I knew I did my math in my head correct. Erase. Okay, so what is 200 divided by 500? Point what? Point 4, which that equals 40%. Okay. What is 150 divided by 500? Point 3 or 30%. 75.15, which is 15%. 25 is 0.05, which is 5%. And then 50 divided by 500, 0.1, which is 10%. Okay. Now, your question on the final is basically going to say we served 500 people and 150 portions were ribeyes. What is the percentage? Okay. It may give you all the extra information. It may say we gave 200 chicken servings, we did 150 ribeyes, 75 pasta. It'll tell you also, though, it should also tell you the total amount served. So you shouldn't have to add all that up. And then it's going to ask you just for one ingredient. What is the popularity percentage for ribeyes? Okay. You'll see other questions where it will give you just the popularity percentage. Chicken has a 40% popularity, rib 30%, salmon 15%, pasta 5%, hamburger 10%. If we expect to have 300 guests, how many chicken sandwiches should we prepare for? So if we're looking for forecasting, the total people served times the popularity. So 300 times 0.4 is 120 is what we're going to forecast for. Okay. So to give us a little extra practice on this, instead of having the same number of forecasted guests, let's go ahead and do some different numbers. Okay. Let me erase that 8 and make it cleaner. Oh, can I undo that? I can't undo that. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can undo that. Nope, I can't undo it. Dang it. Okay. Sorry. Chicken was 40. Ribeyes was 30. Salmon was 15. Pasta was 5 and 10. That memory. Oh my gosh. All right. So 300. Let's make up some new numbers. There we go. So now if we're going to forecast, so 40 times 300 times 40% was the 120. 250 times 0.3, 75. 400 times 0.15, 60. Don't forget when you're using this, we got to remove that decimal and then add that 0 back in. So 560, 5% of that is 28. And then obviously 10% of 800 is 80. Okay. So it will give you a whole paragraph that has a listed of all the popularity percentages for each item. And then the question will be, how many should we prepare for if we expect 250 people? How many ribeyes should we prepare for? So they're going to give you all the extra information, but all you're looking for is one piece of the puzzle. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns. All right. Exceeding food costs. We first want to find the difference in the serving size. Then we're going to multiply that by the cost per ounce. And then we're going to multiply by the number of times that actually occurs. Okay. So if my standard portion size is 6 ounces, and they cook and serve 8-ounce portions, what is the difference of what they are selling versus what they should be selling? 2 ounces. I should be serving 6 ounces, but I'm serving 8 ounces instead. Okay, so that means it's a difference of 2 ounces. Now, what is my cost per ounce? $0.90 per ounce. So we multiply those 2 ounces times 90 cents per ounce, and we get $1.80. So that means every time they're selling or serving brisket, that's costing me $1.80 more than it should. And then the last one, the occurrences, is times 70 times per month. So $1.80 is $126. That is how much they exceeded my food cost. $126. So first step, find the difference. I should be serving 6 ounces. I'm actually serving 8. So my difference is 2 ounces. Each ounce cost me 90 cents. So that means the total is $1.80. I multiply that by the 70 times this occurs in the month, $126. That is money that I did not get sales from, right? I'm serving product without getting the money in return. Also, what's another issue with over serving by 2 ounces? If I overserve by 2 ounces, what's another issue that I have going on in my kitchen besides cost related? I might run out of food quicker, right? If my serving size is 6 ounces, every 3 plates that go out, that's an extra portion of brisket that I'm not selling, that I'm going to run out sooner. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to do 100 portions today. But if every 3 plates go out, that's 1 portion that's going away that I don't get to account for. Then when it gets down to my 90 something serving, I'm going to be out of brisket, but I'm going to be like, no, I should still have enough for this many more. So that's going to be an issue. Calculating deposits. There's another type of math that we're going to be doing on the final exam. So we first want to add up all of our coins, currencies, and credits, all of our sales. We're going to subtract the bank to figure out what our deposit should be. And then lastly, we're going to take our total sales minus our deposit. If we're negative, it's short. If it's over, it's a positive number. Okay. So calculate our deposits. Add up all of our currency, coin, checks, credit cards, all of those sales. We subtract the bank. What is the bank? It's the money we started with, right? Because that money in the bank is part of the currency. So I have to subtract that because it's not actually money that I brought in from sales. Okay. So if my coins and currency is $1,255.25, my credit card sales, let's do it underneath so it makes it easier to add. $2,275.50. My second step, or my last step, sorry. Oh, no, sorry. Second step is to subtract my bank of $75. So that's $2,205.50. Oh, sorry, $2,200. Okay. My last step is to do the sales minus deposit. So my sales, $2,205.50. Oops, I'm going to make a correction. I apologize. I see my error. Hold on one second. This should be deposit minus sales. Okay. So our deposit minus our total sales. It's not going to let me do it in black. It won't let me erase that. So 2,250 minus our total sales is $5, negative $5. So since it's negative, it's short. Questions, comments, concerns about calculating our deposits? All right, getting close to the end. Extended cost of the inventory. There is one question on your exam asking about the extended cost of the inventory. Just want to go over this real quick. Extended cost basically just means that we're multiplying what our cost is times the quantity of each item, and then we're adding it all up together. Okay, so it's going to give you a list in a paragraph form of the cost of each item and the quantity we have on hand. It's going to ask you, what is the extended cost of the inventory? So what is 4 times 10? $40. 25 pound or 20, $25 per bag, and we have 2.5 bags. Okay, we can do 2.5. 62.5. Our tomatoes are $14 per case, and we have 3.75 cases. So we add them all up. 4, 5, 10, 15. $155 is our total cost of our inventory on hand. Okay, that's our extended cost of inventory. We could go downstairs right now and we could look and see what we have in dry storage and multiply by the quantity and how much it cost us to figure out what that value is in our dry storage. We're not going to, but we could if we wanted to. Okay, extending the cost of inventory. Conversion factors. We talked about this a little bit, but not a whole lot in class, but we take our servings needed and we divide by our recipe yield. So how many servings does the recipe make? And then we're going to multiply that by the amount of the ingredient in the recipe. Okay. So I'll do one to start, and then we'll do another one to practice. Let's say I need 50 servings, and my recipe yields 10 servings. What is my conversion factor? 5. I need 50 servings. My recipe only makes 10. So which means I need to multiply everything by 5. Let's say my recipe calls for 12 pounds of broccoli. That's a lot of broccoli for 10 people. Let's say 2 pounds of broccoli. I multiply that by 5, which is my conversion factor. And that means I need to use 10 pounds of broccoli in my recipe as I'm making it. Okay. Let's do one more example. Let's go down this time. Let's say we need, let's say we need 10 servings. And our recipe makes 25 servings. What is 10 divided by 25? 0.4, so that's my conversion factor. Okay. And let's say for 25 servings, we need 6.25 pounds of something. Multiply it by 0.4. My recipe, I only need 2.5 pounds. Okay, so we can go up or down in our conversion factors. If it's less than 1, that means we need less servings than the recipe actually makes. If we need more, then obviously our number is going to be above 1. So we first figure out what our conversion factor is, and then whatever ingredient it's looking for, we multiply that conversion factor by the amount needed, okay? So I did not do this in your project, but think about it. Think about your project. In that amount needed column, the second to last column, okay? Everyone was 32 servings. If I had said make this menu for 75 people, then you'd have to multiply that amount needed by that conversion factor in order to get the amount that it actually costs, okay? But I didn't do that because I didn't want to do that extra step for y'all. So this conversion factor is how we determine how much we need to make with our recipes. All right, total available inventory. This is one where we also talked about the cost of goods sold. Okay. And the reason why I specifically do this one, because in the exam, it asks about the total available inventory, but it gives you all the information for cost of goods sold. And so our total available inventory essentially is what is our beginning inventory plus all of our purchases. That's it. If you remember, we have beginning inventory plus purchases equals our total available inventory. Now, if we take it one step further and we subtract our ending inventory, because remember, why are we subtracting our ending inventory? When does food become part of our food cost? When we use it. So if we haven't used it and it's in our ending inventory, then that means we have to subtract that to get our accurate cost of goods sold. But the question is going to give you the ending inventory. And it's going to be like, okay, Mr. Minsky, I remember beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending inventory. This is the answer. And unfortunately, one of your four choices is going to be the cost of goods sold. I didn't write the quiz. I didn't write the exam. Okay. So I'm bringing to your attention that they are asking for just the total available inventory. Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes.
Is there any like definition? I know in the review there was a few things.
Yeah. So if they're on the review, then they're on the test. Yeah. She asked about definitions and different terms and things like that. I believe in on the reviews, if you got the answer wrong, it should tell you what page in your textbook to go back to review that information. Okay. So if you got the answer wrong, if you've not taken the review quizzes yet, even though the due date was today, you should still be able to take it and do it again before Wednesday. Okay. I will double check that before I leave today. Just to make sure I don't think I have it scheduled to close out. I have it scheduled to like be due today, but I don't think it's scheduled to close out where you don't have access. Okay. Uh, I think I have it scheduled to close out by Monday of next week. So that way you have to have it done before the final exam, the actual final exam. Okay. So as a review, real quick, let me do something. I'm going to do this live with you guys. Okay. Final exam checklist. You need a green 882-E Scantron. Or 25 cents. Okay. You need to bring in a calculator. Can be your phone, your index card, and your managed first Scantron from your textbook. Okay. So what will happen on Wednesday? I will be caught up with all grading, meaning I'll put zeros in for anything that's missing. Okay. You come up, give me your green Scantron. I'm going to go next door. I'm going to grade it. Come back in. Put this grade in your final exam grade. And I will tell you what your final average is. If you are content with your final average, then you do not have to come back in on Monday to take your final exam. Okay. I'm not going to tell you that you have to make an A in this class. That's a personal choice of yours. If you are content with a C, then all more power to you. Okay. If you're fine with a C, that's okay. If you want to go for a B or an A, that's great too. But I will tell you, based on your final exam, if you were to retake and get a perfect 100, I will tell you at that time if it will bump you up to the next grade level or not. If it doesn't bump you up to the next grade level, don't come back in and take my test. It probably sounds really weird to have your professor say, don't come back and take my final. Okay. But I'd rather you take that time because no matter what you do, if you get a perfect 100, let's say your average is an 81 and you get a perfect 100 on your final and it only bumps you back up to, like, let me back up for a second. Let's say you take the test and you get an 80 on the exam and your final average for the semester is an 81. If you come in and get a perfect 100, it's only going to bump your grade up to an 83. There's no point in coming in and retaking the final. Now, if you're at a 78 and you come in and take the final and get, let's say you a 50 on your first attempt and you've got a 78. If you can come in and get a higher grade and it bumps you up to a B, heck yeah, come on in. Okay. But if it, I will tell you whether or not it'll bump you up to the next grade level or not. Okay. Um, I personally, with as much school as I've gone through, I have learned that sometimes whatever grade I get is the grade I get, and I need to focus on other classes for final exams. I would rather you focus that energy on those classes than trying to worry about coming back and taking my final exam if it's not going to change anything. Okay. Now, let me tell you this too. I will take into account if you turned in any of the chapter worksheets. Remember, it's 0.25 points for every completed chapter worksheet you turn in. So if you turn in all 10 of them, that's 2.5 extra points on your final average. I will add that into consideration. Okay. Let me tell you one more thing. If you take the final exam and you bomb the final exam, right? Let's say you got let me two different scenarios. One scenario, come and take the final exam and you get a 68 on the final exam. But because you worked really hard all semester, you still have a 91 average. Okay. Come in and take the test again if you want the certificate. If you don't, it doesn't matter if you go higher on your final exam. I can't give you anything higher than an A. So a 91 is already an A. If you don't have the Scantron, you don't have to come back in and take it again. Okay. Now, if you're that kind of person, and I admire you, if you're that kind of person, it's like, Mr. Humansky, I know I can get a better grade in the final. It'll bump my grade from 91 to a 98. Great. I can only put an A in that's your final grade. Okay. And an A is an A. So I will put these out. You can come up and take one. I'll put some on either side. If you want a different specific color, you can take a specific color. Take one. Because I only have enough to do one per person. I will post this video on Canvas, and I will see you all on Wednesday.